If you or someone you know has been the victim of police brutality, you can file a lawsuit for an excessive force claim, and in doing so, make some change. But how do you know if you have a good excessive force case? How can you prove it in court? And do you need a civil rights lawyer, or can you sue without one? We're going to answer these questions right now. My name is John-Paul DeVerna, and I've been practicing law for over 14 years. Every day, I help victims of police brutality file lawsuits against the city of New York. If you believe you're the victim of police brutality, or if any of your civil rights have been violated by the New York City Police Department, please give us a call at 833-SUE-NYPD. That's 833-783-6973 for a free case consultation. So what exactly qualifies as excessive force? In the eyes of the law, excessive force is when the police use an amount of force beyond what's necessary in order to make an arrest. For example, when you're arrested, the police are allowed to handcuff you, but it can be excessive force when they handcuff you so tightly that it causes pain or injury. Also, the police are allowed to chase you if you run, but it would be excessive force if they punch or kick you after you've already surrendered and become compliant. It's important to know you can sue for excessive force even if you're not suing for false arrest. That means even if the police had the right to arrest you, they are still held to the same standard of not using an amount of force beyond what's necessary to make an arrest or conduct an investigation. We now know an officer's conduct becomes excessive when it goes beyond what's necessary. That begs the question, what amount of force is considered necessary? And do you have an excessive force case that will hold up in court? If you file a lawsuit against the NYPD, it will be judged by what we call the reasonable police officer standard. That means the defendant officer's conduct will be judged against what a reasonably prudent officer would use under the same or similar circumstances. If the defendant officer used more force than what a reasonable and prudent officer would have used, that means they used excessive force. If your case goes to the court, the jury is going to consider several factors in deciding if the officer's conduct was just too much. Some of the things the jury will consider includes how serious of a crime it is alleged that you had committed, whether or not you posed a threat to the officer, the extent of your injuries, and whether or not you were resisting arrest. So if the police officer broke your arm while arresting you, this may or may not be excessive force depending on the circumstances. For example, if you were suspected of committing an armed robbery and your arm was broken during a pursuit and tackle, that might not be considered excessive force. On the other hand, if you were pulled over during a routine traffic stop and your wrist was broken because of the police violently yanked you out of the car and then threw you to the ground, that likely would be considered excessive force. How much money can you potentially get paid for an excessive force lawsuit? Well, it all depends. It could be zero, it could be hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Your recovery depends on several factors specific to your case. What was the severity of your injury? How long did your injury last? What was your amount of past pain and suffering? Your anticipated future pain and suffering? Were there lost earnings? Lost wages here? How malicious was the police officers during the incident? One of the most important things to remember is, to the extent possible, have the city as a named defendant in an excessive force case. While the city generally pays for an officer's misconduct because it's their employee, sometimes they try to wiggle out from paying. So you want to have the city in its deep pockets as a named defendant. To find out how, be sure to watch my other video explaining the step-by-step process for suing the New York City Police Department. So what do you need to do in order to win your case in court? You need to show that the defendant used excessive force and that the force caused an injury. This can be shown through testimonial, physical, documentation, and video evidence. Some of the best evidence to show they used excessive force is images or videos of the interaction, body camera footage from the police officer, video surveillance footage. Great things to show you suffered an injury is your testimony. Pictures immediately after the incident. Pictures during your recovery and medical records. Note, the injury needs to be significant for an excessive force claim to hold up in court. For example, if an officer forced you back by slightly pushing you, the resulting injury likely isn't significant enough to award you more than nominal damages. A lawyer can help you collect and present evidence. They can also speak to witnesses and reach out to people on the scene. A lawyer can help you establish medical proof by calling your doctor to the stand and having them corroborate your allegation of an injury. A lawyer can also do a Freedom of Information law request and use the power of subpoena to get copies of police reports and other records that help support your claim. Can you sue without a lawyer? Yes, it's possible. I think, however, working with a lawyer may increase your chances of success. A civil rights lawyer understands the law, knows the processes, the deadlines, has access to resources, can negotiate on your behalf, and has the experience in the courtroom of proving excessive force claims. In my opinion, your chances of success increase significantly the moment you hire one. Don't forget, generally civil rights lawyers work on contingency fee, meaning they only get paid if they win your case. So if you or a loved one has been the victim of excessive force by the hands of the NYPD, call our office today for a free case consultation. You can call us at 833-SUE-NYPD. That's 833-783-6973. Remember, we don't get paid a dime unless we win the case for you. If this is your first time on my channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos about protecting yourself from the police and holding them accountable when they abuse their power. I make this content to help you understand your rights, learn to exercise them when it matters most, because we want to make some change. So click here and watch this video next, and I'll see you there.